Hello all and welcome to Crochet Designs. My name is Mary and in today's tutorial we are working on this gorgeous beanie, kind of like a surprise project in reference to our live antics on Saturday mornings at 10 a.m. We have lives at 10 a.m. Saturday morning, as I just said, and 4 p.m. Wednesday afternoons. But on Saturday mornings, you, the subscriber, gets the choice to choose a color combination, and all I tell you is the stitch we're using. And I said we're using the half double crochet stitch, and the rest had to be a little surprise until you see the tutorial. So the lovely Esther from Middle Earthains chose the three colors you see here, the pink, the orange and the blue. And I told her we were doing a half double crochet stitch, didn't tell her what we were doing, but this is what we are doing. Now the reason I did this particular piece that you see right here and here and here is because we are introducing our new projects, our patchwork jumper, which is, let's try cardigan, patchwork cardigan, which is going to be a paid pattern only on my website, and also here we are, these two. Here we go. These two cardigans right here. This is the first one. How gorgeous is that? That will be a paid pattern on our website in about a month time. So let's move that out of the way. This is the one we're going to be doing on the channel in a couple of weeks' time. Get excited. And then we're going to be doing a jumper, as in a patchwork that you see right here. Similar colors, not exactly the same. Yes. What I did today was, because yours truly did this one without recording it, I had to do another one. But as you can see, one is bigger than the other. And I'll tell you why. And you're going to get a shock when you find out. They're the same ply yarn. They are a 10 ply yarn or an Aran weight or a number 4. This particular yarn is a lot solid. It is a 10 ply or a 4 or an Aran weight, but it's a solid 10 ply. Whereas the Bendigo Woolen Mills 10 ply is more of a soft, I don't know what you call it. It's a smaller 10 ply. It's still a 10 ply, but it's a little tiny bit smaller. This will, however, stretch in the wash. So a bit of a heads up there. But still, if you wanted to make the other one, I actually made these ribbing here a little longer by about one stitch or 2 stitches longer. And I'm pretty sure I did 12 half double crochets in each square of these ones here. But today we're working on just this one here. Now the pattern itself is made to fit really tight on your head anyways. However, after a couple of washes, this will loosen up, so don't stress too much if it's too tight. When we do this section right here, heads up, when you do that section, I say don't pull this thread too tight. Don't do it, because if you pull it too tight, this whole area will become very tight and it will be too tight on your head and, pull in there. We use a little bit of intarsia for this row, but for the next one, we kind of had to a gazillion ends, which yours truly, don't tell them, hasn't weaved it in yet. All right, so you will need 10 ply yarn, as I mentioned, a number 4 or an Aran weight. You will need scissors. You will need your 5mm hook right there, yes. And you will need 2 stitch markers, a sewing needle. You will need 10 grams of each yarn, between 10 and 15 grams of each thread, probably around 20 grams of your main colour because you're using it down there and up the top. Yes, and you will need one of these if you want to use them. This is not compulsory, and a peg. And I'll talk about what they are in the tutorial. So it's not compulsory. Please don't feel like you have to use those. I didn't. So just a heads up there. I did not use them. I use like little balls of yarn like that. That's what I used. All right. So don't feel like you have to use those bobbins, and we'll talk about that in the tutorial. This is one that I made last night, which oddly enough seems a lot bigger than this, and the reason is because we did a bit of carrying across with this yarn. With this one here, I did a lot of cutting because there's a lot more colors. There's only 3 colors here, 6 of them, but 3 colours. 3 colours here, 6 of them, but 3 colours. And this one, there's 3 colours, there's 6 colours, and I ended up cutting each one because obviously there's 6 colours, yeah? So the difference is that's all right? Now, if you wanted to make the larger size, just add another stitch to your ribbing and then add another 6 rows to your ribbing. It would be really big, so just a bit of heads up there if you want a larger size. All right, but this is the average size, which can be washed and blocked, and it will stretch as it goes along. Anyways, you can see a picture right there of the mannequin wearing it. How gorgeous is that? Look at that. Anyway, that's all it. Thank you so much for joining us. All I want to say is good luck creating your gorgeous, what shall we call it, live antics beanie and colour combination by the lovely Esther of Middle Earthains. Good luck, guys. Alrighty, guys, we're going to start off by making a slip knot. Grab the tail end of your yarn, wrap it around your finger once, twice, leaving a nice long tail, and you are holding it there and holding it down there. All right, grab the back loop, passing it halfway over your finger, hold it there. Grab the other loop, passing it all the way over your finger, pop your hook in, giving everything a tug. All right, now we are going to start off also by chaining, whoops, let's get that up there. We're going to chain 7, and that's your yarn over your hook, pull a loop through to the loop you are in, that's the first chain. Yarn over, 2, yarn over, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. All right, we're now going to work in these chains. We're going to be popping our single crochets across there. So grab your hook, and just in that very top loop you see there, you're popping your hook in, pull a loop through, 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through both of those loops right there, grabbing a stitch marker and popping it in the top 2 loops of that stitch. And I think I'm splitting the yarn there, hopefully not, like so. You can use stitch markers, paper clips, safety pins, a piece of thread, but really it's a good idea to use them, especially if you are new to crochet. Single crochet across. You've already done 1. Now in every top loop you see, you're doing a second 1, 2, whoops, don't split the yarn, and 3, 4, 5, and last one is in that fairly tight looking chainy stitch, or I should say, knotty stitch, if you will. So there you go, and your single crochet is in there like so. So you should now have, and this is what we're counting, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 single crochets, and the letter V you see right here is the stitches. Oh, and by the way, we have a front loop and a back loop, right? And in our next row, we're going through the back loop only, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Not for every stitch, just the middle stitches. All right, from here, you are chaining 1, turn your work. Now you can turn it that way, or you can turn it this way, whichever suits you. Okay, so I'm going to turn my work, and in that very first stitch, and you can see it right there, the 2 loops there, that you're going to do a single crochet. Pop your hook in, pull the loop through, 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2, grab your stitch marker. This is your second one, and you'll be using these 2 throughout this tutorial, guys. All right. Now, with the next 4 stitches before your stitch marker, you're going to be popping your single crochets, but in that back loop right there. So you've got a front loop there, which I just split, and the back loop there. Normally we would go through both the loops, but we are going right in that back loop. So pop your hook in the back loop, pull a loop through, like so, 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2, and that's your second single crochet. And there's your third, and there's your fourth, and your 5th, back loop one right there. It's actually 4 back loops, 1 normal and 1 normal, and then 4 back loops. Okay, so now we're doing a normal single crochet in the stitch with the stitch marker in it. And I did split the yarn. Yes, I did. So I'm going to take mine out. Hopefully you didn't split your yarn. Pop your single crochet in that stitch. And there we go. In the whole stitch, like so. Yes? And actually going into the back loop is starting to form that little ridge you see. Okay? Chain 1, turn your work. And that's what you have so far. You're going to go into the first stitch right there, the whole stitch, single crochet, grab your stitch marker, and in your next 4 stitches you're doing your single crochet in the back loop right there. Okay, 1, 2, 3, and 4 in the back loop, and then 1 in that stitch with your stitch marker in it, and take out your stitch marker, and always remember to chain 1 at the end of every row. Okay, so now all you're doing is repeating that row over and over again. So turn your work, we'll do one more, single in the first, grab your stitch marker, hello. Single in your back loops of the next 4 stitches, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then single in your stitch marker stitch like that. Take your stitch marker out, chain 1, my dears, that is your repeat row. So far you have done 4 rows, okay? What you need is 66 rows. So you need to do another 62 rows. So what I want you to do is grab a piece of paper and pencil, pen, whatever, and it can be scrap. You don't have to put it in a fancy book or anything, and you just go 1 row, 2, 3, 4, and when you're on your 5th one, you put a line through it, and that's your 5 rows, yeah? And then you do the same until you reach your 66th row, okay? So what I want you to do now is do 62 more rows, exactly the same as this, and meet me back here once you're done. Alrighty guys, where you should be is here. 66 rows you should have. If you don't have 66 rows, your count will not work out later. All right, make sure if you've got your stitch marker here, you can take that out now, you won't need it. Make sure you have chained 1 at the end of your row. And now flipping your work like normal, just flip like normal, yes. And now what I want you to do is bring your work up to the other side like that. And if you've done your count right, your tail should be on your left hand, and in your right hand you should have your working yarn. All right, if you haven't, I'm going to show you a little tip just quickly about how to count your rows. Now, if you look carefully at the start of your row, one side looks like that. The other side kind of looks like that, all right? You've got a bit of a lift. From that lift to the next lift, from there to there is 2 rows. So I just go 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and I count that all the time. When you get down to here, to know whether you've got your 66th row, that should be on its lift. If it's on that look where it's indented, then you've got 65 rows. Okay, I hope that helps with the counting. I'm not really sure. It depends on you know, whether you understood it or not, but I hope that helps. All right, so at this stage your piece should look like that. All right, so what you're going to do is do slip stitches across, right? But what you're going to do is start with your first one, and you're doing the first one through both loops on this side. And if you can kind of get it through the both loops on that side, when you can kind of see them. It's a bit weird, but it's there. Okay, so you're going to pull your loop through that one, pull your loop through the second one, and pull the loop through to the loop on your hook, and that's closed that stitch. For this part now, you are popping your hook in your back loops instead of your full stitch until you get to the last stitch, and you'll pop them through both loops. But let's try the back loop as though we were doing our single crochet, but now we're doing a slip stitch. So pop your hook in there and pop your hook in the top stitch of your next stitch, not in two loops but in the top stitch. Pull that loop through there, pull it through there, and pull it through to the loop on your hook. Do the next one there, and in that top loop, pull it through the two and the loop on your hook. There, oops, get it right. Back loop, top loop, and pull through all three and into the second last back loop, I should say, not stitch, back loop, and second last stitch there. Pull it through all of it again. And in the last one, you are going in the stitch, the whole stitch, and you are also going in the whole stitch here. It's a little tricky, but go there and just grab that tail and pop it at the back, and then pull your loop through like so. Chain one, open up your work, pull your loop for a minute, open up your work, and what you should have is that look there, which kind of looks like the rest of your ribbing, yeah? And if you wanted to, you could use that side, but we are going to use this side because I like the look of it. I think it looks really good. All right, so now we're going to work along. You chained your one here, yes? Turn your work to the side, and we're going to work along these bumps right here. So from here, you're going to pop your yarn over your hook. And now see that little space right there? That is going to be your first stitch, and we're going to do a half double in that stitch. So you've got your yarn over your hook, pop your hook in that first space that you are in, pull a loop through, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops on your hook. You need to pop a stitch marker in there because that is going to be a bit of a tough stitch to get into at the end of this row. And then in every space you see, you're going to do a half double crochet. Yeah, see those spaces? You can't miss them. We need 11. Now we've done one already, so we go into the very next space right there, 2, into the next, 3, into the next, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now, nearly missed a stitch there. 8. Be careful. 9, 10. But before you do your 11, hold it there for a minute. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right. When we do our 11, we are going to do half the stitch, and then we are going to join our next colour with the rest of the stitch. What is our next colour, I hear you ask? It's going to be the blue. Now, something real quickly before we start. That is a bobbin, and that is a let's try laundry peg, a bathroom peg, laundry peg. That is a peg that you use just to hang up your clothes with. All right, let me show you. If you don't have one of these, you can turn that upside down to show you what I mean. If you don't have one of these like this, get a piece of cardboard and cut out something like that with the holes on both sides. And it looks like that. Both sides will look like that. And grab your colour. And you don't have to do this. This is just something that will help you. Wrap it around. I'm just going to go over that tail like so. and wrap it around. Tie, 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 tie all the way up. And you will need about 5 grams, 6 grams per set. When we add our colour, you need to do that. Once it's done, you've done that colour, do that. You're on your next colour, do your next colour, peg that one on when it's finished. When you do your next colour and it's finished, peg that one on, and so on. And your yarn will never get tangled when you're doing this kind of crochet, okay? It's called, I don't know, tatting, crochet tatting. Some people call it intarsia as well. We will be doing some part of intarsia up the top or in between each colour set, and we'll talk about that later, so don't stress. These are all big words, okay? So don't stress, they're not as difficult as it sounds, all right? So that's only if you want to use bobbins. If you're like me and you don't want to use bobbins, I use the little ones like that. And I just, when I do every flip, like I flip it over, I fix up my bobbins to suit me. So I don't actually use these. I've got them. I used to use them when I did graphgans. Ooh, I quiver every time I say that word. So you don't need to use bobbins and pegs. It's just a tip to help you out. But in the meantime, grab your next colour, and we're going to start on the very next colour. If I can get ready. All right, so you are going to yarn over your hook, go straight into your next stitch, start your half double and hold it there. Drop your pink in the back, all right? Grab your new colour, pop it over the hook, pull it through all 3 loops. Now you need to hold your pink and your blue at the back, and you are going to do your very next stitch into the very next space. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Make sure you count them, and the way you do it is there's your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. You're counting these little V's here. So your pink should be a little V in pink for 11, and then you go to your blue. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And we're going to do our 11th now, and that will be our very next colour, which is, I'll show you here. It is, bring it out. It's that orangey colour, okay? Now in the Bendigo Woolen Mills yarn, I do not have that orangey colour. I have this one, which is kind of like a gold, if you will, okay? Right, let's get on with the next one. So, yarn over your hook, jump into your next stitch, start it, and pull that loop through. Hold it there. Grab that tail at the back, grab your new colour, pop it over your hook, pull it through, and drop that tail. So you've got your tail end and your blue end in your hand, and you're working with this gold colour now. And straight into your first one with 1, 2, 3, and so on. 4. All right, I'm going to hold it there and show you this. What you have, this is now the right side of your work, okay? So what you have right here is your 3 colours. What I want you to do is finish this 3rd colour, add your 4th, your 5th, and your 6th colour. Now, that will be the exact same colour combination you have here. So after your gold, you're going to go back to your pink, and I've wound up a ball of pink somewhere. I haven't wound it up yet, but it's here. You're going back to add your pink. So you've got your pink, blue, gold, pink, blue, gold. When you get to the end of your gold, wait there for me, and I will talk about what we're going to do next, all right? So do the rest of this gold, add your pink, blue, and your gold, and I will meet you back here once you're done. Alrighty guys, what you will have is that. At this stage you should have 11 in every colour. Make sure each colour has 11 or your rows are not going to add up later, alright? So when you got to your 10th stitch here, you're wondering, what do I do here? This is all too confusing. Well, it is a little bit, but not much. Firstly, that little pink tail, you can pop that at the back somewhere, okay? Hold it in your hand if you want to. I've done 10 half doubles across this way. I need to do my 11th. See that little stitch in there just where the pink tail is? That is my 11th. I'm going to do the full stitch. I'm crocheting over my pink tail so it tucks at the back. And there's my full stitch. The only time I will do a full stitch in half double crochet when changing colours is at the end. And what we will do is we will slip stitch into that stitch marker, then we're going to chain one and turn, and that's where the magic happens. So slip stitch into your stitch marker stitch, take out your stitch marker, pull the loop through, pull it through to the loop you are in, chain one, turn your piece. However you want to, just turn it as long as you remain consistent throughout your work. All right. So now you're going to have ends everywhere. We'll talk about that when we start this row. This row is the wrong side of your work. You'll see the tails, all right? So whenever we do the wrong side of our work, all the tails will be pushed towards us or towards the inside of your work, which we'll talk about in a moment. Let's start with making our very first half double crochet in that stitch. Now, being wary not to put it in the chain stitch or that slip stitch there, we're doing our normal half double crochet and going straight into our first half double, like so. Pop your stitch marker. Now this, from here to here, these two stitches here at the end of each row, beginning of each row, can become tricky and you can miss them. So just be wary, okay? Pop your stitch marker in that first stitch. That's 1. And do your 10 across. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. All right, so when you get to your 11th stitch, you start your 11th stitch, and your 11th will always land on the last colour of your work, last stitch. Pull your work through, yes, because you're working on the wrong side of your work. Your yarn is going to be pushed towards you, and you're going to hold it there. You're going to grab that very next colour, which is the blue, and if you want to hold both the yarn and the tail just for this row, whenever you change colours, then grab your blue, pulling it through your work, yarn over your hook. You're going to do a half double crochet in that first blue right there, being careful not to miss it. But before you do, you're going to pop your hook under the loop that you just formed. Pop your hook in the stitch, pull a loop through the stitch and through that loop. And now you still have your 3 loops where you need to complete your half double and complete your half double like that. You're going to have that little pulling effect, but only on the wrong side of your work. Okay, so yarn over your hook in your very next stitch and you're doing your half double crochets across. All right, it was a bit of a tricky join, but it's only 6 times in the row. If you think about it, you're only doing that 6 times in the row. The rest you are doing your normal half double crochets, which you know how to do now because you've done a whole row worth. Get ready to do that unusual join again. So you're going to start your blue, pull it through, that's your 11th stitch, pass your thread forward, grabbing your pink, pull that loop through, and then you're going to pop your half double in that stitch right there, but we are going to pop our hook under the loop we just made and then pop it in the pink stitch. Pull your loop through, pull it through to the loop you made, and now you've got 3 loops on your hook like a normal half double, and just complete it like a normal one. All right, a little bit of a tricky stitch, but I think, I have faith in you and you can do it. All right, what happens now is occasionally when we do that stitch, we can leave this a little loose, and let me show you what happens if it's too loose. I hope I can bring some out to show you. Not that one, I think it's this one here. One of them, that's it. That will come out, so be very wary. When you finish your stitch, just make sure you give everything a tug so it tightens up, not too tight because you don't want your beanie to pull, but you want a gentle tension on every time you do a colour change, yeah? That one's okay, but I'll give it a gentle tug, and there you go. And that's it. All right, so what I want you to do, and I know it's a bit of a tricky stitch, but just keep watching this section and doing this section again for each one of your colors. When you get to the end of this row, get to your 10th stitch, which will land, believe it or not, it will land right there, and you'll think there's no 11th, but the 11th is there. It's just that we slip stitched into it. All right, so get to your 10th stitch and wait for me there. Now remember, guys, to adjust your yarn so you don't get this look right there, or use one of these if you've got them and peg it to your work after you finish each color. Okay, off you go and do this row, and I'll meet you back here once you're done. Alrighty guys, so here we are at the end of the row, and you should have your 10 half double crochets across here. So grabbing your loop, and you're going to pop that 11th one in that really tight stitch there, and off you go with your 11th, and you are completing this one. Remember, we're completing the last stitch of every row, and then we're slip stitching it to, mine is really tight, hopefully yours is not as tight as mine, slip stitch into the very first stitch of the gold, or last stitch, whichever you want to call it. Pull that loop through, pull it through to the loop you are in, tighten it up a little, chain 1, turn your work. All right, so it's a very basic step, but now I'm going to show you this row here, which is, I'm just untangling my work here, sorry guys. It's so much easier than the row we just did. All right, but we're going to start off by doing that basic stitch in the beginning, half double crochet in your very first pink right there, pull that loop through, make sure you are counting your 11 stitches across, 10 stitches, and then you change color on the 11th, and this is your second stitch, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, get that out of the way so you can see, 7th, 8, 9, 10, and now to do the 11th, so simple. You may find your stitches here will be a little loose. You can give them a gentle tug. Just give everything a gentle tug. Start your 11th. Hold it there. Take that pink and just pop it behind in your hands there at the back. Grabbing your blue, making sure you're not grabbing the tail end blue. You're grabbing your working end of your blue, and all you're doing is pulling that thread through, yarn over your hook, half double in your first. This row is so much easier. The color change is very easy. The only problem you're going to have is you're going to have a lot of detangling with yarn. So just be careful with that and make sure you detangle as you go, or you will end up with a disastrous mess like I did when I did the other beanie. As you do. All right, so this is your third row, by the way, guys. I'm on my 10th stitch there. Let's get a close-up. I'll show you this join again, and then you can head off on your own and finish your row. So we're going into the last stitch, starting it, grabbing that tail at the back, and just grabbing your working end of your gold, picking it up, pull it through, yarn over your hook, and off you go. A very easy row, making sure everything is tighter there. I didn't tighten it because mine was tight enough, but just making sure whenever you get to your very next color that each one of these, so that's a bit loose there for my liking, so I'll just give it a tug. There you go. And when I get to that color, it'll be okay. All right, so I want you to keep joining in that manner, get to your very last stitch right here, and wait for me there on the 10th stitch, and we'll talk about what's going to happen next. Alrighty guys, it can be a little bit messy this, I know. So where you should be now is on your 10th stitch. And right here it looks like there's not a stitch there. There is, you must get in that stitch, okay? So yarn over your hook, start your 11th, complete your 11th. Whoops, I nearly did a chain one, we don't want to do that. Slip stitch into your stitch. Take out your stitch marker. Oh, I've made a mess. I've put it in the wrong section. There we go. Slip stitch into your stitch like that. Pull a loop through, nice and tight there. Chain one, turn your work, yarn over your hook. First stitch, pop your stitch marker in. Now before I put it through all the loops, whereas now I'm putting it through the right loops. There you go. Naughty me. So do your colours all the way across, or your colour I should say, all the way across. And when you get to that colour change, you are back at the colour change where it's a little weird, okay? And you have to do it a little differently, okay? It's the wrong side of your work we're working on now, okay? Always the wrong side of your work is a little bit more difficult. All right, now I'm on my 10th stitch. I'm gonna blow that up a little bit close. What I want you to do before you start is just give everything a gentle tug. Again, gentle. Pop your hook in your stitch started. Bring your thread forward. Now you only have to hold this because your tail is down there. You don't have to worry about that anymore. Hold that thread there, grabbing your blue or whatever color you're using, and pull that loop through like normal, but we are going to pop our hook under that thread right there and then into the stitch. Pull a loop through the stitch, through the thread. You now have your 3 loops, yarn over, pull through 3, and do the rest of your set like normal. Get excited guys, because I'm going to send you off on your own in a minute, because you know that stitch, you've done it before, okay, in the previous row. Right, what we have now here is 3 rows. We need to do another 2 rows before we do a color change. We will be doing a little bit of intarsia in that area. Intarsia mean we'll be carrying some yarn across, only for that 1 row. So don't cut any yarn yet. Make sure you've had the amounts I told you at the beginning of our tutorial on your bobbin or wherever you've got it, on one of these, or ball of yarn like this. Don't cut anything. Do these 2 rows exactly the same as we've been doing them. The right side of your work is normal crocheting. The wrong side of your work, you're bringing your yarn forward and you're slipping through that little loop as well. All right, so continue in this manner. Remember, when you get to your corners right here, make sure you do your 11th stitch in that corner, slip stitch to join, chain 1, turn your work. Make sure you turn your work, all right? Otherwise your carrying is not going to work. All right, head off on your own, do 2 rows, and I'll meet you back here once you're done. Alrighty guys, what you should have now is your 5 rows. How you count that to make sure, this is the wrong side by the way, so don't worry about this because I've weaved in some ends and we'll talk about that in a minute. How you should count it is like that: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Make sure you have 5 rows or you are going to have to do some big changes later, all right? Because I wanted to show you just quickly how we weave in some ends. Now, don't weave in all your ends. If you're new to crochet, don't weave in all your ends because you need to remember where the wrong side of your work is. So maybe keep one end, and I'm going to leave the gold end right there. And I'm just going to show you quickly how to weave. Now, I'll leave the blue end because that's dark, and I can show you the how to weave in this lighter end. Sometimes it's hard to see the darker colors online, so let's just show you quickly how to do this. Now, it's entirely up to you how you want to do it. What I do actually is I tend to split a bit of the yarn across here, making sure you are weaving on the wrong side of your work and not the right side. Okay, so what I do is I just grab some little stitches there, split them, and pass that thread through like that. Then I grab a lot of little stitches and split. I hope you can see this because I'm kind of not looking through the lens. To do this part, it's really hard to look through the lens. Find some side stitches if you have to, because you don't want to see the needle from the front, because once you start seeing that needle from the front, then you can see your thread from the front, I can't get that right now, from the front, a little bit of a tongue twister there. Let's just bring it through a stitch like that. And then you're going to go back the other way, splitting some of your work. Again, making sure you can't see your needle from the front. Slowly talking, Mary. And then you won't make those tongue twisting slips. All right, and then you're going to go back a third time. So just find another section to split. Yeah, I felt that go through a little thick. I wonder if I can see the needle. No, all good. Pull that through. That is our third time. We won't need to do any more. Okay, so let's cut that. Do the same with the rest of your ends. Leave one if you are new to crochet. Leave one so that you don't get confused. All right. The reason we're doing that is because we are now going to be changing our color combination. So let's have a look at our pink. This is how we started. We went pink, blue, orange, pink, blue, orange, and then we joined somewhere right there. Is that the join? Oh, I can't tell with this one. Yes, it is. That's the join. Oh, it's hard to tell with the thicker yarn. All right, so that's our join, right? What I did was, instead of starting a whole new threads and cutting and having to weave in a lot of ends, I did a bit of intarsia on this section right here. And we're going to do that right now. It can be a tad confusing, so I'll do it nice and slowly for you. I haven't joined my thread yet, and I'm not going to yet first. What I want you to do is, when we join our thread right now, we're going to turn and work on the gold. But we don't want to work on the gold anymore because we've done our 5 rows. So what I want you to do is grab this pink right here. See that tail, your working end? Leave a nice long tail, and that is the only thread you cut. Then you use this pink, which I'm going to bring out because it's all knotted up in my work there, which I shouldn't have. You're going to use that pink to join to this, and I'll explain that. That's the only join you're going to have. All right, so you've got your 10 stitches across here. Yep. In that last stitch, you do your 11th, but this time I want you to not complete the stitch. Drop the gold. Grab your pink. Pop it over your hook, pull it through. Just hold the gold and the pink at the back. Slip stitch into your first stitch there. Did I have it right? Yes, slip stitch into there. Pull the loop through and pull it through to the loop. You are in chain 1. Just take out that stitch marker. Turn your work, like as if you were doing a normal row. Now what I want you to do, this is where the intarsia comes in. It's a little tiny tricky for the first row, but the rest will be okay. So yarn over your hook. You're going to start your pink there, but what you're going to do is crochet over that gold thread. So just pop your hook under the first thread. It's a little tricky, that first stitch. And then pop your hook in the stitch, all right? And then just crochet over the whole lot, and you can give the thread a little bit of a tug if you like. And do your 1 stitch like that. Pop your stitch marker in. That might come across a little tight at the end of the row, that first stitch. It may. All right, that's stitch 1. Now you're going to crochet all your 10 stitches across, all right, but you're crocheting over your gold tail. So 2, 3, notice how I'm pulling it forward a little bit, yeah, still crocheting over it, 4, but pushing it down because this is the wrong side of your work. Still crocheting over it, 5, 6, 7, 8, whoops, 9, and 10. All right, so that's what you've done. You've crocheted over your tail. If it's a bit loose, just give it a gentle tug to tighten it up a little bit, not too much, because this will pull at your beanie as well, and you don't want that. On your 11th stitch, you're going to pull your work through with this gold. So yarn over your hook, start your stitch like normal, and get ready to pull the gold through. But before you do, you still need to pass that pink forward. Grab your gold, pull it through. You're going to pop your gold in the blue, but you are working over your blue tail. I'm sure you're getting the picture here. So yarn over your hook, lift up your little blue tail for the first stitch, pop it in the stitch. It's a little tricky, just that first stitch. Pull it through, yarn over your hook and pull through all 3 loops on your hook. Gentle tug on that blue and crocheting over your blue. And once you get past your blue, you're going to pull the loop through with your blue and crochet over your next colour using the blue. So all you're doing is passing your thread over so that you can use it in the next colour. Yeah, it's a little tricky, this part, and sometimes you can get into the stitch wrong. So just be careful where you're placing your hook. Yeah. Okay, we're nearly there, nearly there. I'm going to count these stitches because I was chatting to you and I didn't count. I'm assuming that's 10. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, we're going to do our 11th stitch and we're going to pull it through using the blue. All right. So yarn over your hook, pop it in there. Pass your gold forward. Oh, it's a bit tricky here. Grabbing your blue. Pull it through, yarn over your hook. Remember, you are lifting up your pink. Pop your hook under that pink and into the first stitch. And there you go. And just give it a gentle tug. All right. It is a tricky row, which is why I decided to do these first few with you. But that's what I want you to do. Okay. How far have we got? All right. When you do your blue, your pink on your gold on your blue, all you're doing is doing your blue on your pink. But don't worry about that for now. Just do this set. I'll bring it out. Do 1, 2, 3 sets. Don't do your last one. All right. So do your next 1, 2, 3 sets and wait for me right here. All right. Go ahead and do that now and I'll meet you there once you're done. Alrighty guys, when you get to this section here, now I asked you to get to your second last set and not complete the last one. Now because I better do the last stitch though. We're going to complete that last stitch like that. Pass your gold forward, complete the stitch with your blue. Now the reason I asked you to get to here is because remember we cut our pink so that we can bring it across the top. We don't need to carry any yarn. All we need to do is do a row of blues. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I'm in a section, not a row, sorry guys, a section of blue, 6, I don't know if I've miscounted there now, 7, 8, 9, I didn't, good, and 10. All right, so now what you need to do is exactly what you've been doing all along. Super easy. That was the most difficult row from now on, okay? So you're going to pop your last stitch in, complete it, slip stitch into the stitch with your stitch marker, pull the loop through and put, whoops, pull it through the loop you are in and then chain 1. Hello, wake up, Mary. What have you been doing? Oh. All right, so now you're going to just continue on like the normal pattern. There's your half double. Let's find one that's a bit closed up for some reason. I don't know what I've done there. All right, and there you go. Half double all the way across your row, like a normal row. And let me show you what you've done now. That's actually the right side of your work that we're looking at now. Bring that out. What you did was just that there. There's the pink, yes. There's your orange, or in this case, gold, yeah. You passed that orange thread, or in our case, what was it? The pink, can't remember what it was now. The pink thread, orange thread, you passed it over to the next square. So now we are working on these colours in this set for 5 rows. I'm sorry, make that 4 rows because you've just done your first row. And now all you have to do is join like normal. Do each section like normal, all right? So go ahead and now complete your 4 rows and I'll meet you back once you've done this set and we'll do the join one last time. All right, so go ahead and complete 4 more rows exactly the way you did these 5 rows and I'll meet you back once you're done.